Your government says they're working for your financial freedom. They promise stability, growth, opportunity. But here's the truth they'll never tell you. For over 1,000 years, governments have used the exact same playbook to systematically transfer wealth from your pocket into theirs. These aren't accidents. These are refined tactics, and you've been paying for them your entire life without knowing it. Let me show you how the game really works. Let's start with the oldest trick, inflation. When governments spend more than they collect in taxes, they face a choice: raise taxes openly and face backlash, or quietly destroy your currency's value so every dollar you own buys less tomorrow. Which do you think they choose? Ancient Rome perfected this scam. In the 3rd century, emperors facing military costs started debasing the denarius. A coin that was once pure silver became mostly copper, with just a silver coating. The government pretended nothing changed, but everyone holding those coins watched their savings evaporate as prices exploded. Wages couldn't keep up. Families who saved for generations saw their wealth vanish. It was taxation without accountability, silent confiscation through monetary manipulation. Today's emperors work in central banks, and instead of clipping silver, they create trillions with a keystroke. But the result is identical. Your purchasing power is systematically destroyed to pay for spending. They won't tax you for directly. When prices rise faster than your wages, that gap is effectively a hidden tax on everything you own. The 17th century introduced something more sophisticated. When Britain created the Bank of England in 1694, it wasn't innovation. It was a war funding mechanism. Wealthy investors bought government bonds and earned guaranteed interest. Who paid that interest? Common citizens, through taxes on salt, beer, and bread. The rich got richer from safe investments. The poor paid higher prices to fund those returns. This pattern is alive today. Government bonds are the safest investment in the world. But that safety comes from the government's power to tax you and inflate currency to pay bondholders. Now look at modern deficit spending. Governments run massive debts, telling you it's for infrastructure and jobs. But watch where it actually goes. Defense contractors, corporate subsidies, financial bailouts. When repayment comes, they don't cut spending at the top. They raise your taxes or inflate the currency. The 2008 crisis showed this perfectly. Banks made catastrophic bets and nearly destroyed the economy. Who paid? You did, through taxpayer-funded bailouts. Who profited after? Those same banks, emerging bigger than before, privatized the gains, socialized the losses, every single time. Even your retirement is a con. For decades, you've paid into government pension systems, trusting the money would be there. But governments don't save that money. They spend it immediately and leave IOUs. The promise is that future taxpayers will cover your retirement. It's a Ponzi scheme in official clothing. It works when populations are young and growing. But when demographics shift and populations age, the math breaks. What happens then? They reform it. Translation: they cut your benefits, raise retirement age, or inflate away what they promised you. You paid in your whole life. When it's time to collect, the rules change. If you're starting to see the pattern, subscribe to the Wealth Forum right now, because what I'm about to show you next is even more insidious. Hit that subscribe button. This information can change everything. The tricks have become almost invisible. Consider quantitative easing. Most people never heard this term before 2008. Central banks created trillions from nothing, buying bonds to stabilize markets. Politicians said it was necessary to prevent collapse. It worked, for the wealthy. Asset prices soared. Stocks, real estate, bonds, everything surged. But who owns most assets? The top 10%. For average households without significant investments, benefits were minimal. Meanwhile, you got distorted markets and rising costs. Money creation saved the system for those at the top, while fueling inequality for everyone else. And they called it a rescue. Then there's regulatory capture. Regulations supposedly protect you, but powerful industries consistently control their own regulators. Railroad companies in the 1800s, oil companies in the 1900s, tech giants and banks today. They shape rules in their favor. The public sees protection. Insiders see guaranteed profits. Governments also weaponize complexity itself. Tax codes run thousands of pages. Financial instruments are incomprehensible. Budgets hide under jargon and acronyms. This isn't accidental, it's camouflage. When you can't see how money flows, you can't resist the transfer. Make it too complex to follow, and the robbery proceeds unnoticed. War finance is perhaps the oldest trick still running. During world wars, governments issued bonds, calling it patriotic duty. People believed they were supporting their nation. They were. But those bonds also became lucrative investments for the wealthy, guaranteed by future taxes from ordinary people. Nothing's changed. Trillions spent on Iraq and Afghanistan were financed through debt. Defense contractors and bondholders profited massively. Taxpayers funded everything. Wars are sold as temporary emergencies, but financial burdens last generations. Notice the pattern in everything. The trick always relies on controlling perception. Inflation is called growth. Forced loans were duty. Debt is investment. Bailouts are stability. Pension cuts are reform. The language masks reality. Systematic wealth transfer from bottom to top, from you to them. This works because most people don't study economic history or understand financial systems. By the time you realize you've been played, your savings are gone. Why does this matter right now? Because these tricks are accelerating. Inflation is eating savings faster than ever. National debts are at historic levels. Bailouts remain automatic whenever markets stumble. Central banks manipulate money supply on unprecedented scales. The system is designed to keep you working harder for less real wealth, while financial elites grow exponentially stronger. When Rome debased coins, citizens suffered while empire maintained power. When monarchs forced loans, merchants lost fortunes while crowns prospered. When modern states inflate and borrow, households bear burdens while bondholders collect returns. Different ages, same mechanism. Most people will never escape because they don't realize they're being played. They take inflation as natural, taxes as inevitable, bailouts as mercy. They believe government messaging instead of studying history. That ignorance is the most powerful weapon in the entire playbook. Here's what you do. First, always look beyond headlines. When governments announce stimulus, ask who profits first. When inflation rises, remember it's policy, not luck. When regulations appear, ask who wrote them and who benefits. Second, build real wealth outside these traps. Assets that hold value when currency doesn't. Third, never assume the system works for you. Systems protect themselves and those at the top, not you. Financial education is resistance. Economic history is your weapon. If you understand these tricks, you're harder to manipulate. The financial tricks that kept Roman citizens poor are draining your account today, just wrapped in modern language. The only difference is whether you recognize them in time. If this opened your eyes, subscribe to the Wealth Forum. History has the answers, and I'll show you exactly where to look. The game is rigged, but once you see how it works, you can stop playing by their rules.